You choose to resist something that cannot change, your suffering continues, and that becomes our stress. It's when you only focus on the symptom and not the root cause. The symptom requires medicine. The root cause requires medicine and you making lifestyle changes. Almost everyone's healing, but no one's doing the actual work that needs to be done. Whoever said that I should find love for the first time and it has to last for a lifetime? No, it doesn't exist. If you got it, you're lucky. If not, you feel entitled, which is a very big difference. Everything that you do in life or you want to do will require your health. It's very, very difficult to achieve detachment. Like they say, be in a relation but be detached. Technology can be used as a great enabler when you have the right purpose and the right mindset, and at the same time it can destroy your life.
Yeah. You also touch upon briefly about how communities, about how people in our lives, about how partners, family, extended family, friends, that sense of community can also help you build calm. It doesn't have to be necessarily a solitary or an individual pursuit, because that makes it more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the meaning of calm is highly misunderstood. People say, okay, Luke, I don't have time to go to the Himalayas. I don't have time to go to Rishikesh and be there for a couple of months. You don't have to. If you can, it's great. We have to learn to find calm where we are right now. That's an inner state. So the moment I stop, not trying to be involved in everything people say, not being reactive to every post on social media, everything that you see in the news, you see we're constantly reactive. But we learn to just be observers. Right now, where most of us are absorbers. We're absorbing everyone's emotion. We're absorbing the toxicity on social media, the changes in the government, whatever it is. We're absorbing. And that's why we feel so heavy. But when you just observe around, you're still keeping your calm. You observe, and then decide, how do I want to think about this? How do I want to react? Is there an action I want to take? Is there something I want to say? So you actually move from reaction to response. That itself is calm. That itself is calm. So it doesn't have to mean you have to be alone, you have to be solitary. And yes, one of our biggest issues, and this is a beautiful tradition in our own country in India, community.
Yep.
When you're in community, and in fact, the longest living people, they say the reason that they live the longest is not their food, it's not their sleep. They have strong communities around them.
It's the people.
It's the people, which means you feel that, hey, someone's got my back, I can speak to someone, that kind of community. But you see, social media has created a divide. We spend more time with the virtual world than the real world, leading to other problems like social anxiety. A lot of people can't even go out and meet real people anymore because they get anxious. So the whole point is community is really strong. And I think there's a beautiful book in India. It's called The Buddha's Wife. If you ever get this book, it will change your perception on suffering through community. All of you know the story of Buddha and the suffering that his wife went through.
Yeah.
Okay? He leaves to go out to search for salvation. She spends most of the time with his son. The son grows up 16 years and then decides to leave and follow the father. Suffering. Her entire life is suffering. But she only found her happiness because of that small community called the Sangha. A group of 4 or 5 women who would get together, be there for one another, talk in the evenings, cry with one another. But that community was her biggest source of strength. That is something that we're losing today. I mean, if you're a teenager, child, etc., please have your life, enjoy your life. But try not to lose community and real social connections for the ones which are unreal and the ones that are artificial. So I think community is a huge player in our calm, basically.
And I think something interesting that you also said is that you don't need to have a sort of an affective response to things. I mean, you can respond to things but not be reactive about it at the same time. But just taking a cue from what you said about how you don't have to take a holiday to build calm. You can build calm in routine. And that is something that comes out very strongly in your book, because a lot of people say, oh, I'll slow down once things settle. I'll slow down once I've built a career or once I'm at a certain place in my life. So, to build on that point of how you need to look at calm and look at building calm in routine. It doesn't require you to be in a special state of mind for you to sort of focus on that.
So you don't basically have to stop your day-to-day activities or stop living your corporate life to find calm. You got to fit it in. Because what's the point? You'll take a holiday, you'll come back, you're going to the same office, same boss, same work. How many holidays do you need to sort that out?
Unsustainable, yeah.
Right? It's not sustainable. Take a holiday, it's good, but that can't be your fix. You have to understand that, okay, this is my job, this is my environment, this is my business, this is my family. Amidst this, how can I build relaxation? How can I build calm? I think that's the more important thing. Otherwise, it leaves everyone with, it's impossible with my job. It's impossible. I got 2 young kids. It's impossible. So people give up right then. But the point is, how can I build calm within everything that I have going on in my life? So that could be 5 or 10 minutes of deep breathing, your pranayam. For some people, it's meditation. Some people, it's a 20-minute walk. Some people, it's just getting a sunrise or a sunset. Things that make you truly happy. Some people, it's listening to a playlist of your favorite songs. Maybe your meal times are sacred to you, where you get to eat on your own or talk to people. There are so many multiple things that you do. You can find it in your yoga class. You got to figure out what works for you. Some people just like to come home after a stressful day and just sit alone in their room for an hour, me time, silence, be with their thoughts. That's also great. So there are many, many tools that we can use, but the point is we have to start using them.
Yes. And once we start using it, there's also this sense of guilt, perhaps. Especially how we are wired these days. Hustle culture, and you, of course, you are prescribed in another prescription to work for 70, 80 hours a week. So in such a scenario, there's also a great deal of guilt and shame that is sort of attached to giving yourself any time at all.
Yeah.
You feel that, oh, I can't have downtime beyond these many minutes, because then I'm not working, I'm not doing anything productive, or our idea of productive. So, how do you sort of navigate that space of guilt and shame that is associated with any practice that you do for yourself and for your calm and peace?
All right, so I have 2 perspectives on this. While, the new generation is actually fighting back with this work culture, I think it's a great thing, because there's never any gain or value in life if you have to sacrifice your health to make money, or your health to grow the corporate ladder and then spend your time sick. So I'm really in favor of the new generation actually doing this in a respectful way. But at the same time, it's social media that has also made us think about, social media puts these ideas in you. Long work hours, long, etc. Look at the army, look at our officers, look at all of them. They don't have work time. They're working literally. Look at your CISF. We consult with the CISF across the country. They have long shifts, they have families, they have as much of stress as all of us.
An exhausting shift.
Exhausting, yet they're healthy, they have to pass their medical tests, they have to learn mental health. It's possible. The point is, social media gives people an idea today, oh, you were working maybe 15 or maybe you were working 12 hours a day and you were doing it beautifully. Now someone put the idea in that, hey, no, this is wrong, all of this is right. But you were fine doing it until the idea came in. So social media is also distorting our minds, and it's also creating a lot of laziness and entitlement. I'm against working to a stage where you lose your health, but at the same time, you can take 10 holidays. We have those kind of people. 10 holidays, I got to de-stress, this happened, that happened, and nothing's changed in their life.
Yeah.
Because they didn't take out the real elements of burnout. A lot of people blame their workplaces, but they sleep for 4 hours. You're going to work burnt out. You're not burning out at work. You're already burnt out and you're going to work. You're working, but you're eating crap food. You're burning out. So the point is, there are 2 sides of every story. At the end of the day, we have to take personal responsibility and choose, is my job adding value to my health, my life, my financials? At the cost of my health, change it. If not, and you can manage, because I know many people in the generation who are happy working many hours because they have a different goal in life and they know how to balance their health with that. They know it's a phase. Startup founders, they're working literally 18 to 19 hours. But they know at some point, I will make the change. I hope it's not too late. So it's always a different perspective. I think social media likes to put people into boxes. They like to put people against one another. Trends. Do you support this? Do you not support this? They're literally dividing the public, and that's why you have so much of toxicity and hatred on social media.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, because work-life balance can mean different
You're a
things to
journalist.
different people. Yeah.
You're a journalist. You've managed it. You look super fit. Did you have 8-hour days?
Yeah.
Did you have 9-hour days? It's not possible. But the point is, everyone gets a choice. What about pilots?
Yeah.
What about cabin crew? They work different shifts, long shifts, but are all of them sick? They have very stringent medical tests to fly that plane. So they are looking after their health and their workload. It all comes down to a choice, discipline, and or you become a victim of social media and you become emotionally fragile and weak, which is actually sometimes worse than just physical sickness alone.
Absolutely. And your book is, I mean, it's a personal book, but at the same time, it also has social ramifications because what you're really looking at is the real kind of sustainability. Sustainability that is personal, but also impersonal and social. Just to talk to us a little bit about that, about how, like you said, you're going to work burnt out and then hence less productivity, and hence there's an overall kind of reduced productivity for a firm, for an organization, for society.
Yeah.
Which is why this idea of sustainability is extremely important.
Yeah. So I think today, irrespective of your job, your business, etc., everyone needs to be a little bit selfish and figure out, what is my goal in this life? Housewives will say, Luke, I'm a housewife. I say, okay, that's great. Beyond that label of a housewife, what do you really want from this? And a lot of them have dreams. Once my kids grow up and leave, businessmen, all of them have dreams, but this is where I'll use the word attached. No one's attached to those dreams. They're just going through life hoping that they'll meet that dream someday, and then they realize they've lost their health. So the whole point is to figure out today, what are the choices that you're making? Does it support the dream that you have? Period. Value is simply defined as, very, very simply defined as, any person or anything that is giving you something that helps you live the life that you want. That's called value. So if there's something that's not giving you the life you want, like let's talk about, I'm not putting down smokers or drinkers, but let's say most people smoke not because they want to, because they need to, they're stressed. But the point is it adding value to your life in any way? If the answer is yes, go on smoking. But you find that no, it isn't. So it's not really making your life better. It isn't. So the best way to bring sustainability is everything, whether it's a person, a thing, a food that you're eating, all right? If it's adding value to your life in a way that's the life that you want to live, that is your value. If not, that should be your motivation to make the changes. So today everyone gets to decide, I'm not here, like I'll eat an ice cream, I'll eat a bag of chips, I'll do everything, but it won't become my primary diet.
Yeah.
You have to choose the choices that you want for your life today. Unfortunately, most people's choices are driven by social media. What everyone's doing, what the latest influencer said, what's the trend? We're like sheep, blindly following when you know that's not adding value to my life at all, but you're doing it because psychologically there's FOMO, there's, I suddenly feel good. You suddenly feel that you're amazing because you're doing a trend that doesn't even make sense. So my point is slow down. You can actually make these decisions and better choices when you're in a state of calm. And every choice you make is the life and the consequences of your life that you build. It's at the end of the day, we are the sum of the choices we make. A small percentage is not in our control, but we are a sum of the choices that we make, now, present, and in the future. So we get to decide that, and that is what is sustainable, the little choice that we can make every day.
Because ultimately you have to live with the consequences of your own choice.
Own choices, yeah.
But Luke, talk to us a little bit about your own regime, as it were, because of course you have prescribed 75 practices, and while of course for the unintroduced it would be slightly overwhelming to sort of look at all these practices, but talk to us a little bit about certain small practices that you have integrated in your own life that have borne fruit. Because while of course you look super fit, it's also about inner calm, like you said. And while like we were discussing earlier, you may come across a person who looks completely unflappable but is actually deeply anxious inside. So talk to us a little bit about those small practices that you've integrated and which have sort of paid off in the long run.
All right, so we wrote 75 because the world loves complication, right? The world loves complication, so you got to give them 75 choices, even though we live in a country which has taught us for years and years, the number one de-stressor is how you use your breath. Everyone can de-stress right now by just slowing down their exhale. We know this through pranayama. We know this through our tradition. Everyone over years knows that if you spend time in nature, that's a little bit difficult in these current situations in Delhi, you feel great when you're in nature. Everyone knows how amazing they feel and calm they feel when they're with the right people, the right company, not the group where you have to act to fit in or you got to behave, to fit in. These are all tools that we all already know. All of us know that when you sleep well at night, how do you feel the next morning? Amazing. Amazing. So out of all the 75, you will find that you can just take 2 or 3. You don't need 75. I've forgotten half I've written, to be quite honest, because I just focus on the few. Breath in my control. Sunshine and nature, whenever I can get it, that is my #1 de-stressor. 3, knowing that I have someone that I can share whatever I want with. And some things I still can't share with that person, I'll journal it and tear up the paper. Remember, when you journal your innermost feelings, remember to tear it up, otherwise you leave evidence. You don't want it to be found by the wrong people. So the point is, there are always, and exercise is a big, big de-stressor for us. And finally, sleep. For me, sleep is my linchpin. I get a good night of sleep, I'm on fire the next day. I don't sleep, I'm the worst person to come across the next day. So everyone finds their own ways of being calm, and for me, those are the simplest ones that work.
Yeah. So it seems like you slept well yesterday.
I slept very well, yeah.
But talk to us about one practice, because there are very many innovative ideas that, of course, like you mentioned, breathing, and there are various kind of grounding exercises as well that you've suggested, but that's more when you're in an anxious state of mind, which is when you resort to these activities. But talk to us about one practice that you were researching about or that you wrote about that absolutely blew your mind, the kind of results it can yield.
I think, again, that one practice is in breathwork, which is called the 4-7-8.
Yep.
You inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 7 seconds, and through your mouth you exhale for 8 seconds. This is something that the Indian Army uses, the US Marines. They are taught to use this in areas of extreme stress. And there, when I did a session last year with the Indian Army, their areas of extreme stress is life and death. It's between a bullet, gun, and an enemy. That's their level of stress. So the point is, the only breathing work that they're taught is a 4-7-8. And they don't do it at that point. Someone's about to shoot 4-7-8. They do it constantly as a practice, so they're trained in combat to automatically breathe at a slower pace to maintain their calm. So 4-7-8 is, there's such amazing research on this. That ties in with our own pranayama. Your Anulom Vilom is one of the most powerful breath works that you can do. Your belly breathing, that's also powerful. And the third practice was, we can do that exercise right now, was more of a mindset practice. Think of everything or everyone that stresses you out. All right, and you can go home and do this exercise. Write down their name, write down what stresses you out. Is it the AQI? Is it your neighbor? Is it your husband, wife, kid? Whatever it is, write it down. Then at the side, make a column. In control, and one more column, out of control. And tag each of them. Most of you will find that you're less stressing about things and people that are actually out of your control. If you're stressing about something that's out of your control, you can now, one, never change it. You can never change it. You're wasting precious energy on that. Now something comes in control. It's your grades, it's a business goal, that's in your control. Make an action plan and do it. Give your 500%. But when it comes to out of control, there are only 3 words. Acceptance, let go, and surrender. The sooner you become better at this, the faster you'll find your calm. This is a beautiful scientific exercise because most people are stressing. You're trying to change your partner in your marriage. Do you think you're going to win? How many women get into a relationship thinking that, he's doing that now, but when I get married, I'll change him? Yeah. And how many women have failed? And men as well. It's impossible to control people. You can with authority, with disrespect, with a lot of things, but it never works for you. So the point in life, when there's something out of your control, you can only accept, let go, and surrender. If it's in your control, give it your 500% and make the change. So I think these are 2 powerful things which like literally non-debatable, because acceptance, letting go, and surrender is a very difficult thing. It's not easy to do. But why is it difficult? Because there are 2 things that come in between acceptance, letting go, and surrender. Your ego and your pride. These are the 2 most difficult things to manage. So the sooner we learn that some things I just need to surrender. The moment you surrender something, the residue is calm, is peace. But the moment you're always attached, hanging on, trying to control, that is your suffering.
So one question that I had was, how has it been working with doctors? Has there been resistance, or we go back to the earlier conversation about convergence as well. because ultimately you do need medical professionals to sort of collaborate with integrative medicine practitioners to be able to achieve optimal results. But how has it been working with doctors? Is there still resistance saying that, because conventionality often is rigid and sort of not very receptive to new ideas and integration. So how has that been?
So integrative and lifestyle medicine is actually a subject. It's a whole
Yes.
course. There are universities in the US that run that subject, and that's where we learnt about it and brought it to India. So 14 years ago, it was a nightmare because every doctor thought that you're trying to get people off medicine.
Yeah.
Our patients would go back with better levels, and the doctor was reducing the medication. They didn't like that. Today, we have half those doctors who work with us. We have most of the brilliant doctors in our country on our podcast working closely on patients. They refer patients to us. We refer patients to us. It's been a journey, but we always believe that sometimes the belief has to break first. And now today, it's a subject in universities across our own country. We have holistic nutrition. We have integrative nutrition, where we're teaching people how to integrate nutrition with medicine, etc. And I think even hospitals across the country now have an integrated ward that has a complete focus on lifestyle medicine. So it was a nightmare in the first 2 or 3 years, but we persisted, and today I think we have the most beautiful system which is working. Yes, you still have the odd ones sticking out who believe it's only medicine and nothing else can make a patient better. But everyone has their own journey and their own personalities.
And I think that's the real tangible change you've been able to achieve. But also because you work very deeply with content. A lot of us now are consuming so much content that it's almost mind-boggling. Like you're flummoxed at the end of the day what to believe, what not to believe, what to follow, how much of it is actually sustainable. So given the fact that we consume so much content and so much advice is out there, how do you filter it out? Of course, you have those 75 practices which are very achievable in life and sort of science-backed and medically backed. But for an ordinary person who's consuming so much content and listening to so much advice on social media, how do you actually filter out and sort of believe in the right things and adopt the right
So
things?
it's practically impossible.
Yeah.
It's not possible because the point is, do we really need more information at this point as a country, or do we need more action?
Yeah.
Everyone knows where they're going wrong with their diet. Everyone knows, if they're working out enough or not. Everyone knows the importance of sleep. Everyone knows the importance of de-stressing. So we don't have a lack of knowledge. We have a lack of action. Now, knowledge is great. Sometimes you have a complicated condition, or great, I want to move to a pro level. I want to take my exercise to a pro level. Then we need more expert advice. But social media, unfortunately, is always going to be the wrong place to get it.
Yes.
Because, I have a lot of people on social media who watched our videos, lost a ton of weight. And when I meet them, there was no diet. They just used discipline and consistency. So the point is, social media is actually selling most of us a lie. What it should be selling is that, are you disciplined? Are you consistent? Are you doing the basics? Just that can change everyone's lives. But more information is not really helping us. It's confusing us. So I think if you want to be on social media, be on social media, but follow the people who are giving you value, who are adding value, and follow only if you're making a change and taking action. If you're not taking action, you're just clogging up your brain with extra information.
But Luke, as we end, let me do a quick rapid fire with you, if you like. One morning calm ritual that you never skip.
Prayer.
One habit that secretly steals people's calm the most. I mean, we know, of course, no alcohol and junk food, etc. But one habit that secretly steals people's calm.
I think it's sleep deprivation. Makes people angry and more reactive.
A wellness trend that makes you want to say, please relax.
I think it's messing up traditional food. You have a great dosa, and then they start filling it with Nutella and all of that stuff, and everyone's happy and everyone eats. I think these are wellness trends that are actually making the country sicker.
One emotion that our body holds on to longer than we know or longer than we
Guilt,
want.
anger, shame, resentment.
Okay. The most underrated calm practice.
Breathwork. Yeah.
If calm had a color, what would it be?
Blue.
And if calm had a sound, what would it be?
I think for me it would be the sound of moving water.
Okay. Silence or music? When do you need to reset? Silence or music?
Music for me. Yeah.
best time of the day to do absolutely nothing.
I think before bedtime. Yeah.
Okay. Overthinking or under-resting, which causes more damage?
Overthinking.
Okay. A single word you delete from our relationship with health, a word that you delete.
Intensity.
Okay. And my last question, calm, is it a skill, a state, or a superpower?
It's a superpower.
Thanks very much, Luke. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure talking to you and wonderful session.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.